Dao Comprehension Mountain seemed to be cast from metal, its body extremely hard and rigid, while the vast mountaintop shone with a flowing metallic luster. An immortal medicine grew at the summit, and its faint fragrance penetrated deeply into the heart, refreshing the mind and making people feel clear-headed and eager to comprehend the Tao. Shi Hao climbed the mountain step by step, while the surrounding creatures all retreated and avoided walking beside him. Knowing that a great conflict was about to erupt, Shi Hao had already killed an emperor's son-in-law and provoked an emperor clan. So there was no longer any possibility of mediation. The old woman followed behind him with her granddaughter and several other children, all of whom were the children the emperor's son-in-law had nearly used as food. After seeing the so-called emperor's son-in-law killed, the old woman had decided to risk everything and bring the children with her. The mountaintop was extremely vast, large enough for 100,000 people to cultivate at the same time. Faint immortal energy drifted through the air, while the fragrance of the immortal medicine made the entire place feel exceptionally refreshing. However, the area around the immortal medicine was hazy, protected by a group of powerful creatures who used secret treasures to form layers of light screens. The highest point of the mountain was effectively reserved for the experts of the various clans, and anyone who wished to enter had to compete for a position. When Shi Hao arrived, a loud shout suddenly rang out like thunder, making many nearby creatures' ears ring. A blue-robed man stood in the middle of the stone staircase, blocking his path. He appeared to be in his 30s, but he was actually a former top 10 expert of a king clan's previous generation. A figure who had once shaken the world. Strands of chaotic energy rose from his body, and the pressure he released caused the surrounding space to become indistinct. Although his body was tall and slender rather than muscular, he gave off the terrifying feeling of a vicious beast. When the blue-robed man berated Shi Hao and warned him not to act so arrogantly, Shi Hao simply replied, "Get lost." He did not bother arguing with him. Ever since he had been sent out from Imperial Pass, Shi Hao had already prepared himself for death. Although the Undying Beings had issued a decree granting him temporary freedom, he knew that once the Undying Kings returned from the burial region, they might deal with him. In his view, the worst outcome was simply death. So he no longer feared offending any clan and was even willing to provoke them, treating death as if he were returning home. Shi Hao's domineering response shocked everyone. A powerful self-release realm expert had spoken, yet Shi Hao had treated him so casually. The blue-robed man then accused Shi Hao of killing the emperor's son-in-law and cutting down young experts from his side without reason, claiming that he had committed a great crime and would have no good ending. Shi Hao calmly replied that if the man believed the killing was unjustified, then so be it. When asked whether he wanted to argue, Shi Hao answered directly that there was nothing to argue about. Humans had been killed, so he had acted. The blue-robed man criticized him for offending an emperor clan because of several children and even suggested that Shi Hao should have tried to get along with the emperor's son-in-law if he wanted to integrate into their world. Shi Hao's voice became cold and intimidating as he declared that anyone who treated humans as food would inevitably become an eternal enemy of the human race. There could be no reconciliation between them, and the clan of the so-called emperor's son-in-law ought to be wiped out. The surrounding creatures were shocked that, after killing an emperor clan's son-in-law, Shi Hao still showed no sign of repentance and remained so forceful. At this moment, the young human servant behind the blue-robed man spoke again. He claimed that even if the emperor's son-in-law had shown hostility, he had not actually attacked first, while Shi Hao had been the one to take his life. He even dismissed the matter of the children being eaten, asking why Shi Hao was making such a great fuss and telling him to bind himself and await the emperor clan's punishment. Shi Hao's eyes immediately became extremely cold. He was furious that this servant was a human yet did not think from the perspective of humanity, instead defending the foreign creatures. Shi Hao declared that those who viewed humans as food were destined to be mortal enemies, and that there could only be killing between them. Someone like this servant, who did not even treat himself as a human and instead constantly considered the interests of the foreign creatures, had no reason to remain alive. Shi Hao then directly moved to kill him. The blue-robed man immediately intervened, his entire body surging with blue light and chaotic energy. His physical body was incredibly sturdy, and the terrifying power he displayed caused the surrounding creatures to feel confident in him. They knew that Shi Hao had previously fought Martial Heavenly King and the other 10 Great King clan experts, needing to exert considerable effort. while this blue-robed man had several hundred more years of cultivation. Therefore, they believed that he might be able to suppress Shi Hao. The two soon clashed, unleashing powerful divine abilities. Their battle was extremely intense from the beginning, with thunderous sounds shaking the mountain and brilliant light rushing into the heavens. Many creatures believed that the former top 10 expert was about to suppress Shi Hao. However, after more than 50 exchanges, the situation suddenly changed. Shi Hao dispersed the chaotic energy around his opponent, rushed forward, and tore the blue-robed man in half, killing him on the spot. The entire crowd was stunned and horrified. A former top 10 King clan expert who had reached the late stage of the self-release realm had actually been killed so quickly. Shi Hao then took another step forward, causing his projection to instantly fill the world. His foot became like a small mountain and directly crushed the human servant into a bloody paste. After killing both the powerful King clan expert and the human servant, Shi Hao did not stop. He continued ascending Dao Comprehension Mountain, advancing toward the highest point and the immortal medicine protected by the powerful creatures gathered at the summit. A former top 10 young expert of the King clans, the blue-robed man had greatly advanced his cultivation over several hundred years, reaching the late stage of the self-release realm with the path to becoming a supreme being already within sight. Yet he was still killed, shocking everyone. He was far stronger than Martial Heavenly King and the others. But this terrifying elite was killed even faster than when Shi Hao had slain Martial Heavenly King and the others at Imperial Pass. This proved how terrifyingly much Huang's cultivation had advanced in such a short time, to the point that even one of the former 10 great kings found it difficult to face him. No matter how much they hated Huang, many had to admit that he possessed astonishing, unstoppable talent and might become unmatched under heaven if given enough time. After shrinking back to his normal height, Shi Hao reached the mountaintop after trampling the human slave to death. The gray-clothed man behind him was drenched in sweat, realizing that Huang was far too good at provoking trouble. In a short time after arriving at Dao Comprehension Mountain, the son-in-law of the Scarlet King bloodline had been crushed beneath his feet. And now one of the former 10 great young experts had been torn apart. He hurriedly transmitted a report, hoping the undying existences would learn of this. Because he feared Huang would cause even more trouble. He knew that he was not Shi Hao's opponent and could not stop him. Even suspecting that Huang might be slaughtering enemies because he felt he had little hope of surviving anyway. Someone at the mountaintop coldly mocked Shi Hao as merely a captive from Imperial Pass who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Shi Hao frowned, sensing that the speaker was extremely powerful, likely a half-supreme being. However, after his transformation in the Jiyu clan's yin-yang furnace, his entire body was filled with tremendous power, and he was eager to find a strong opponent to test himself against. The mountaintop was covered in soft, jewel-like green grass and filled with rich heaven and earth essence energy. Since reaching the summit required fighting for a place, only the strongest could sit there. The person who had spoken did not reveal himself or attack, and the summit was spacious, with the various king clans scattered across the meadow and enough distance between them to avoid conflict. Shi Hao ignored them and instead looked toward the center of the mountaintop, where sweet fragrance and brilliant light drifted from behind a screen of light guarded by powerful cultivators holding secret treasures. Using his heavenly eyes, he saw the immortal medicine, an ancient tree with a thick trunk and bark like dragon scales. Its most astonishing feature was its leaves. Each one was unique in shape and color, shining brilliantly like stellar rivers winding around the branches. These were the precious leaves of the Dao Comprehension tea, whose value was immeasurable. When brewed into tea, they could allow one to enter a state of comprehension and experience the mysteries of the heaven and earth Dao. The tree's leaves had matured and were ready to be picked. Shi Hao was amazed by their strange variety, while their fragrance alone made the body feel light and the primordial spirit relaxed, as if one could directly comprehend the Dao. At this time, the others were no longer looking at the immortal medicine, but at Huang, seeing him calmly ignore everyone and focus only on the Dao Comprehension tea tree. Several experts released cold snorts. Their gazes became like penetrating streaks of lightning, tearing through the void and even distorting space as they shot toward Shi Hao. These were terrifying gazes capable of tearing apart ordinary cultivators. Yet when they reached Shi Hao, they could do nothing. His body shone brilliantly, locking down the surrounding space and preventing any power from approaching him. Shi Hao coldly looked toward the creatures seated on the meadow. Those who had released hostile gazes were clearly extraordinary figures, perhaps similar to the blue-robed cultivator he had killed. But he felt no fear. This was indeed a distinguished gathering, with many powerful Qing clan members present. Most were young cultivators, whether under 100 or several hundred years old, and possessed immense potential. Some were even younger and stronger than the blue-robed cultivator he had killed. Shi Hao soon understood that many clans possessed young elites who normally remained in seclusion and had only left their ancient lands today, while others deliberately kept a low profile. Some extremely young creatures had extraordinary origins and astonishing battle strength, seemingly close to He Ziming, the #1 expert of the Qing clans who was not weaker than Emperor clan experts. Among those present were Yu Yu, Qing Kun, Wu Kun, and other Emperor clan members. Most unexpectedly, Kai Minghong was also there, seated silently on the grass with several terrifying battle servants behind him. Shi Hao was surprised that Kai Minghong had remained silent despite being present. After all, Shi Hao had killed their so-called son-in-law, who could be considered Kai Minghong's brother-in-law. Kai Minghong explained that he had always wanted to kill Huang but had repeatedly been stopped by Emperor clan supreme beings. Now, however, he might finally have sufficient reason to end him. Shi Hao sneered that Kai Minghong had shown remarkable composure by watching his brother-in-law die without lifting a finger. Kai Minghong coldly replied that someone who could not withstand even a dozen moves from Shi Hao was not qualified to marry into the Scarlet King bloodline. Everyone watched closely, believing that an intense battle between an Emperor clan member and Huang was about to begin. Although Kai Minghong might not violate the Undying Decree and directly slaughter Shi Hao, a ferocious battle was certain. The Scarlet King bloodline was infamous for its ruthlessness and mercilessness. Scarlet King had once slaughtered countless experts and even refined an immortal king into bloody paste, becoming known as the most vicious Undying King, and his descendants possessed a similar nature. Shi Hao then challenged Kai Minghong, telling the Emperor clan member not to lose his life later. Since Kai Minghong was so hostile toward him, Shi Hao had no reason to hold back either. Shi Hao's relaxed words immediately made some creatures reveal strange expressions. He was clearly responding to Kai Minghong with equal harshness, refusing to yield even an inch. The two had previously been refined together in the yin-yang furnace, but no good relationship had formed between them. Kai Minghong still harbored hostility and truly wanted to kill Huang. Now that they met again on Dao Comprehension Mountain, he had long been prepared for a great battle. As a descendant of the Scarlet King, he was cold-blooded, ruthless, and feared by the other clans. At the mountaintop, the ground was hard and metallic, though covered by a layer of green grass emitting sparkling radiance. At this moment, fierce winds suddenly surged between the two, tearing space apart, followed by thunderous explosions. Before they even exchanged blows, the invisible fields between them already displayed terrifying destructive power, causing the other cultivators to shudder. From beginning to end, Kai Minghong remained seated on the grass, displaying absolute confidence. Even when facing Huang, he did not stand. His scarlet eyes were like blood-colored suns, and his long hair gave him a young and heroic appearance. Calm and confident, he seemed like an insurmountable ancient demonic mountain. He was undoubtedly powerful enough to look down upon all creatures of his generation. Shi Hao walked forward lightly, as if taking a stroll, yet with every step, the mountain seemed to tremble, and the entire world began to resonate. This was an invisible great power, equivalent to moving the great Tao and commanding the world. Hong, terrifying fluctuations spread between the two. Countless strange phenomena appeared in the void. Dragons cried, lions roared, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. Cracks rapidly spread and enlarged, as if the heavenly dome had been shattered and another world was about to appear. Stop. If you wish to fight a great battle, leave the central region of the mountaintop. An expert responsible for protecting the Tao Comprehension Tea Tree shouted. Many older generation experts guarded the tree year-round because it was too important, and the various clans feared that someone might steal it. Although Kai Minghong was arrogant and ruthless, he did not retort, because the two were too close to the Tao Comprehension Tree. A battle at their level could damage the ancient tree despite the formations protecting it. Thus, he remained seated. His gaze at Shi Hao was cold, a chilling smile at the corners of his lips, and his killing intent had not diminished. But he said nothing more. Huang, enjoy your final moments, or you will have no more opportunities. Kai Minghong's servant spoke. He had a very young face and a gentle, sunny smile. Although merely a slave, he spoke to Shi Hao casually and arrogantly, acting as if he stood on equal footing with him. Shi Hao frowned in disgust. The most important thing was that this battle servant was human. Yet he was perfectly content with his status and position. The words, servile nature, immediately appeared in Shi Hao's mind. However, he did not argue with the servant, as doing so would only lower his own status. Heh, Huang, you are quite strong, but do not make a mistake. I advise you to beg for forgiveness early. If my young lord is satisfied, your fate might change. Behind Kai Minghong stood 3 older battle servants. They were not human and radiated powerful battle auras. Their eyes shone with divine light, and they clearly wished to fight in Kai Minghong's place. If they suppressed Huang, the meaning would be completely different. Shi Hao's gaze turned cold. Kai Minghong's servants dared to act this way because they were clearly accustomed to being arrogant and throwing their weight around. Hang, Shi Hao coldly snorted. It was like a bolt of lightning striking the human servant, causing his sea of consciousness to tremble violently and nearly explode. Kai Minghong's eyes flashed with cold lightning, and a vast radiance surged behind him, helping the servant neutralize the danger. Otherwise, the consequences would have been severe. Everyone who saw this scene inhaled sharply. Huang was actually this powerful. A single cold snort was enough to suppress many enemies. There is not much time left. Prepare to pick the Tao comprehension leaves. Someone spoke, and the mountaintop immediately became noisy. Everyone revealed excited expressions, because they had come to Tao Comprehension Mountain precisely for the tea. Now, the leaves had matured and could be picked. The confrontation between Shi Hao and Kai Minghong was interrupted, and everyone turned their attention to the Tao Comprehension tea tree. The people beneath the tree stood up and put away their secret treasures. The curtain of light disappeared, revealing the full appearance of the immortal tree. The ancient tree was large and thick, like a horned dragon lying dormant. Its branches were numerous, upright, and powerful, but its leaves were sparse. This was not because of a poor harvest. The Tao Comprehension tea tree was always like this. Not every branch had a leaf, making the tree appear somewhat bare. However, it was full of vitality, releasing rich life energy and swirling immortal aura. It was an immortal tree and one of the most astonishing medicinal herbs in the world. 1, 2. When the leaves were carefully counted, everyone cheered. There were exactly 3,000 leaves, perfectly corresponding to the number of certain natural laws. 3,000 great Taos, 3,000 leaves. This is truly a great harvest. Everyone was extremely excited. It was unknown how many years would pass before the tree could be harvested again, often requiring hundreds or even more than 1,000 years to mature. Usually, only around 100 leaves would appear, while 3,000 leaves occurred only in special circumstances. Some people sighed, saying that after this harvest, the next great harvest would probably require another several thousand years. Once the leaves were picked, the ancient tree would have to germinate and slowly grow again, requiring an extremely long time. Before the harvest, a special sacrificial ceremony was conducted, after which the elders carefully picked the leaves. One leaf released sword radiance and sword cries when touched, long and slender like a divine sword. Another emitted an earthen yellow radiance and a deep bell sound, its shape resembling an actual bell. A scarlet leaf looked like a precious furnace and released blazing flames. Shi Hao was especially astonished, as this was his first time seeing the Tao Comprehension tea tree. The other young cultivators were similarly amazed, since the previous harvest had taken place before they were born. A white leaf shaped like a lifelike white tiger released a fierce roar. A 5-colored leaf shone with divine light and released phoenix cries, surrounded by rebirth radiance and divine flames, resembling a phoenix. Upon closer inspection, all 3,000 leaves were different. Some took the forms of creatures, while others resembled great Tao weapons. Each was vivid and lifelike while carrying a powerful pressure. This was the mysterious and miraculous Tao Comprehension tea tree, a rare treasure throughout the ages that cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. The elders picked the leaves with extreme care, afraid of damaging them. In the end, they separately sealed all 3,000 leaves inside 3,000 small jade containers. Now is the time of harvest. The tea ceremony will begin. The leaves were completely picked, leaving the ancient tree bare, without a single leaf, yet it still possessed vigorous life essence and showed no signs of decline. Beneath the tree stood a short but holy altar made of earth, radiating mysterious splendor. The 3,000 jade containers were placed densely upon it. Flickering with light, a gentle curtain of radiance surrounded them, making the scene appear auspicious and peaceful. Rely on your own strength, and even more so on fate. To choose the tea, only one tea leaf may be seized at a time. After brewing and finishing the tea, and successfully comprehending its Tao, you may continue to seize another leaf. The elders explained the rules. Every leaf contained an unparalleled great Tao, and whether one could obtain it depended on their affinity with that Tao. Perhaps one would feel especially close to a particular leaf, indicating that they should walk that path. Many people immediately acted. Standing at a distance, they used powerful magical force to seize the jade containers from the altar. However, most were covered in sweat and could not move the containers at all. Despite trying repeatedly, they still could not obtain a single leaf. Finally, a jade container moved and flew out from the earthen altar toward the crowd. Although many experts tried, only a few dozen containers were successfully seized, making them extremely rare. One of them flew toward Shi Hao, and he succeeded. He was immediately excited, eager to see the shape of the leaf that had affinity with him and whether it could point out a path for his future Tao. The jade containers flew toward the great experts with long trails of light, resembling stars falling from outer space, while dozens of them filled the area with dazzling radiance like a meteor shower. These containers held rare and sacred Tao comprehension tea leaves, an astonishing substance that could potentially allow someone to comprehend the Tao and increase their cultivation with just a single leaf. Making everyone extremely eager to obtain one, Shi Hao reached out and seized a jade container, but it suddenly struggled free under the influence of a strange force. He increased his strength and stabilized it, realizing that someone was secretly interfering through powerful secret treasures. The source came from the direction of the Scarlet King bloodline. Kai Minghong had already obtained his own container, while the three old servants behind him were secretly manipulating space to seize the containers of others. Shi Hao immediately attacked. A Kun Peng appeared from his shining arm, its golden light containing black stripes that transformed into yin and yang energy. It seized the jade container and spread through the surroundings, entering both the ground and the void. The energies then exploded behind Kai Minghong, causing the three old servants to cough blood and drop their secret treasures. All of them seriously injured. The human servant behind Kai Minghong angrily berated Shi Hao for causing trouble during the tea ceremony. Shi Hao did not respond verbally. The yin and yang energies directly smashed into the servant, exploding his right shoulder into bloody mist. Kai Minghong had to intervene and stop the attack, saving his servant from being completely destroyed. The three old servants were pale and injured, never expecting to suffer such a heavy blow. The human servant was even more terrified, having nearly died despite being a servant of an emperor clan. Normally, his status was extremely high, even surpassing that of ordinary king clans. Yet now he had been treated like an ant and almost crushed to death. Kai Minghong narrowed his eyes at Shi Hao, knowing that their conflict was unavoidable. Shi Hao coldly told him to properly manage his slaves, since even a servant had dared to seize his Tao comprehension tea leaf. The human servant became furious, but Shi Hao mocked him for remaining unwilling to change his nature as a servant while still trying to anger him. The yin and yang energies appeared again. This time, the human servant's body exploded completely, his blood splashing everywhere and his body being destroyed. Only his head remained, falling behind Kai Minghong with wide, terrified eyes. His soul cried out in grief. The mountaintop immediately fell silent. Everyone was shocked by Huang's domineering actions. He had actually dared to offend the descendant of the vicious Scarlet King bloodline. Displaying astonishing courage, Kai Minghong's protective light continuously shielded him from the servant's splattered blood. Kai Minghong angrily declared that he looked forward to taking Shi Hao's head and, even if an undying decree existed, refining his essence blood, smashing his marrow, and using him as paste seasoning. Shi Hao calmly replied that Kai Minghong would definitely become famous as the first younger generation emperor clan member to be killed. Their words revealed an intense killing intent, making it clear that their confrontation would inevitably become a life-and-death battle. Under the Tao Comprehension Tea Tree, an elder announced that the tea leaves could now be used to brew tea. The experts on the mountaintop immediately became busy. They gathered divine ice and snow from the surrounding snow-covered mountains, preparing to brew the tea. This divine ice was said to possess mysterious power and was considered the most suitable water source for brewing tea. In the past, an undying king had comprehended the Tao there, causing the snowy mountain to be infused with great Tao energy and making its ice and snow extraordinary. The snow and divine ice were placed into their respective vessels, and the experts began activating Tao flames to slowly brew the tea. Soon, strands of fragrance spread through the area and seeped into the soul, making even those who lacked the qualifications to drink the tea feel light and relaxed. Shi Hao looked at the tea in his jade cup with surprise. The leaf he had obtained had seemed ordinary, with a normal tea leaf shape rather than the unusual forms of cauldrons or dragons. However, after being brewed, it released wisps of immortal mist that spread throughout the cup. A primitive and hazy mist floated from the leaf, seemingly containing an extremely special power. Shi Hao narrowed his eyes and took a sip. As the fragrance filled his mouth, he experienced a special sense of peace, even though he was trapped in this world and could not find a way back. His mind became calm. The Tao comprehension tea was truly extraordinary, immediately clearing his mind and allowing him to enter a state of Tao comprehension. The world became hazy, auspicious energy surged in all directions, and Shi Hao forgot everything else as he experienced the movement of the great Tao. His flesh treasury seemed about to open. Origin energy. Shi Hao was inwardly shaken as he sensed the origin energy within his body begin to move and surge, as if it contained a sea of power. This strange energy had appeared when his 3 strands of immortal energy emerged, but it had remained hidden until he eventually unearthed it. The Tao comprehension leaf was clearly unusual. Shi Hao wondered whether the energy corresponding to the leaf was related to his origin energy. As his mind became increasingly peaceful, specks of clear light appeared within his body, and several gates seemed about to open in response to the origin energy. At that moment, Shi Hao actually sensed a sign of breakthrough. His body shone brightly as a crack appeared in the gates of his treasury, making him appear bathed in dazzling divine radiance. Many people became jealous, knowing that Huang had gained tremendous benefits. Shi Hao himself was hopeful that he might enter the late stage of the self-severing realm. Realizing that this cultivation speed was truly terrifying, a layer of flowing light appeared around Shi Hao's body, dazzling like a divine halo from an ancient monk bloodline and illuminating all life. Tao patterns swirled around him, spreading an everlasting and imperishable will. For a moment, everyone felt that Huang had transcended the world, standing above the great era and remaining untouched by the rise and fall of countless ages. As if he were someone who had survived through endless reincarnations without fading. Soon, however, some experts recovered from this strange feeling. After all, Shi Hao was only a young cultivator in the self-severing realm. Light continued to surge around him, with different colors representing different meanings: golden radiance resembling the battle aura of an undefeated war god, scarlet light containing struggling figures like an abyss of worldly suffering, and purple brilliance resembling imperishable imperial quartz standing through endless ages. The elders beneath the Tao comprehension tea tree were moved, saying that such great world light was normally condensed only by supreme beings who had hope of taking the final step. It illuminated the heavens and could greatly benefit one's future cultivation path. Shi Hao remained unmoving like a mountain as mysterious radiance and increasingly dense Tao laws surrounded him. Within his body, a strand of origin energy gradually took shape, moving through him like a great dragon. He knew that if he released his great Tao flowers and formed the small figures, this origin energy would bind with them. But he deliberately refrained from doing so to prevent others from seeing the 2 little figures above his head and avoid unnecessary trouble. At the same time, the gates within his body, beginning from the sea of reincarnation in his abdomen, continuously shone. New gates appeared and cracked open, extending toward his chest and making that area resplendent as well. He was only one final push away from the late stage of the self-severing realm. Shi Hao's cultivation speed was astonishing. He had only recently broken through in Heavenly Beast Forest, first entering the self-severing realm and then consolidating himself at the mid-stage. Now, he was already preparing to advance again. Ordinary cultivators at this realm often needed tens of thousands of years, while Shi Hao's growth had surpassed normal reasoning and stood at the very forefront of this great era, even exceeding the achievements of past outstanding figures. If he continued advancing at this pace and reached the late stage of the self-severing realm in his 20s, even the heaven-defying geniuses of this era would seem slow in comparison. The expressions of the Emperor clan inheritors changed slightly. especially because they were several years older than Shi Hao and felt considerable pressure upon seeing his vigorous progress. Kai Minghong's eyes emitted 2 streaks of blood-colored light, his long hair shining like metal threads as his killing intent grew even stronger. Shi Hao then sighed lightly and withdrew from his state of Dao comprehension. As the effect of a single cup of tea had already ended, many people finally turned their gazes away and began drinking their own Dao comprehension tea. Although some had kept their eyes closed the entire time, immersed in their own worlds, Shi Hao took the tea leaf from his cup and examined it in his palm. It had already lost its spirituality and luster. He then looked toward the earthen altar, where more than 2,000 jade containers were piled together like a vast treasury. If he could obtain them, the benefits to his cultivation would be immense. The Dao comprehension tea leaves all had different shapes, yet they gave Shi Hao a familiar feeling. He suddenly remembered the immortal medicine he had once seen while pursuing the rotten wooden chest. That medicine had originally been a tree, but a burial king had cut off part of its stump and turned it into a coffin, causing the furious immortal medicine to flee. Shi Hao felt that it was extremely similar to the Dao comprehension tea tree. Its remaining tender branch had produced leaves of various strange shapes, such as spears, pagodas, and arrows. He had even obtained one leaf and preserved it in a jade vessel, though he had left it with his old friends in Imperial Pass. There were also differences. The other medicine's leaves were highly fragrant and contained abundant undying essence, making them suitable for refining longevity medicines. The Dao comprehension tea tree's leaves were more suited to brewing tea and comprehending the Dao, while the undying substance within them was limited. Some elders protecting the tea tree then revealed that, regardless of the era, whenever the Dao comprehension tea tree's leaves matured, even undying beings and undying kings would come to drink several cups. They explained that some true immortal roots still existed in the world, including ancestral roots naturally born from a realm and others formed after immortal kings or undying kings died. Shi Hao learned that even true immortals were not necessarily enough to become immortal medicines after death. Only existences at the immortal king level had such a possibility. The Dao comprehension tea tree had once ranked among the top 3 ancestral roots and was one of the most famous immortal medicines. Even undying kings could gain insights from drinking its tea, making its value immeasurable. Unfortunately, it had suffered a disaster and been cut into 2, with its roots divided and placed in different locations, weakening its medicinal nature. Everyone felt regret upon hearing this, realizing that an unmatched immortal medicine had actually been split into 2. When Wu Kun asked why it had been divided, an elder revealed that the so-called second immortal root had reportedly suffered an even worse fate, being divided into 6 parts. Rumors claimed that 6 great parts of a creature had been buried separately and might one day be gathered together again. The elder explained that this information had been deduced by a deceased undying king from a stone stele during his later years. Even though that undying king had died countless years ago, the elder still spoke of him with great reverence. The death of an undying king was shocking, but such existences had died in battle even in the last great era, while the ancient king he mentioned had perished in an even more distant age. Finally, an elder announced that everything would now depend on everyone's natural luck and strength. The battle for the immortal leaves officially began. The more than 2,000 jade containers on the earthen altar all contained rare Dao comprehension tea leaves, and this time, the competition was no longer limited to obtaining a single container. Anyone could act, and as long as they were strong enough, they could even seize 100 containers, meaning 100 leaves and 100 opportunities to comprehend the Dao. Just thinking about it was enough to drive everyone into a frenzy. At the mountaintop, the atmosphere suddenly changed as the crucial moment arrived and the great decisive battle was about to begin. This was the most exciting part of every distinguished meeting, because there were so many Dao comprehension tea leaves that even if only half were ultimately divided, there would still be more than 1,000 leaves. No one was willing to give up such a chance, since each leaf represented a heavenly opportunity for momentary enlightenment. Even the emperor clan youths had reddened eyes, while murderous energy filled the air as all the clans prepared to act. Even the usually quiet clans gathered their strength, determined to seize a share of this natural luck. Dao Comprehension Mountain was extremely majestic, with the earth and rocks on the summit carrying a faint metallic luster and extraordinary toughness. Astonishing formations had been established there to protect the mountain from destruction during the coming battles. Streaks of patterns now lit up and flowed through the gorges like molten metal as the Great Formation activated. The green meadow was soft. But no one sat down anymore. Even Emperor clan youths such as the ruthless Scarlet King descendant Kaiming Han had risen. Their pupils like small suns as they accumulated vital energy. The Dao Comprehension tea tree was completely bare, without a single leaf, yet it still possessed endless vitality. A mortal mist swirled around its enormous, ancient branches, whose bark folded outward like the scales of an azure drake. Below the three of them, rows of jade containers on the earthen altar shone with hazy brilliance and carried immortal Dao auras. Shi Hao's body tensed, bending slightly like a vicious human-shaped dragon ready to attack at any moment. He also cared greatly about the Dao Comprehension tea leaves. He told the people he had saved to wait at the foot of the mountain. The little girl intelligently agreed and told him to be careful before leaving with the old woman and the other children. Then, under the ancient tree, an elder announced the beginning. Immediately, several Emperor clan experts rushed toward the altar like lightning, attacking it with tremendous magical force. Shi Hao was surprised that they were attacking the altar. But he quickly realized that this was the only way. A screen of light surged around the seemingly ordinary earthen altar, forming a mysterious protection barrier that blocked all powerful individuals from directly seizing the immortal tea leaves. The ancient altar produced strange symbols that surrounded the area. An elder recalled that in the past, even undying kings had come here, treating the altar like a table and sitting around it to enjoy immortal tea. He wondered whether such a grand gathering could ever appear again. Meanwhile, Shi Hao frowned after discovering that the barrier was much tougher than expected. Shaking his arm numb when he attacked it, he took a deep breath and decided to use a true method. His right hand shone, and a lightning pool slowly emerged in his palm. Though his palm was small, it seemed capable of capturing the sun and moon and crushing mountains and rivers. When Shi Hao struck, the lightning pool released endless lightning radiance and an overwhelming utmost yang aura. His attack tore open a crack in the barrier. The surrounding creatures gasped. Huang was far too powerful. Those who had personally attacked the barrier knew how astonishingly sturdy it was. Yet Shi Hao had damaged it with one strike. Many king clans had attacked together more than 10 times without causing the slightest damage. Several magical hands immediately reached through the crack, trying to take advantage of Shi Hao's efforts and seize the opportunity. Shi Hao's expression turned cold. Among them were Kai Minghong's old servant and reckless members of other king clans. He knew they might not simply want to take advantage of him, but could also be trying to interfere with him and ruin his mood. Shi Hao gently pressed his right hand downward. The lightning pool trembled and suddenly released an endless sea of lightning. Like a small heavenly tribulation, the hands were bound by lightning like metal chains before exploding, splashing blood and exposing white bones. Although they were only manifestations of magical power, they were extremely lifelike, and the individuals controlling them still suffered backlash, groaning and trembling as blood flowed from their mouths. Before the crack closed, Shi Hao reached his right hand through the barrier and grabbed toward the jade containers. However, he could only seize one, unable to move the others. He soon understood that only one leaf could be obtained at a time. The emperor clans had also followed this method, withdrawing after obtaining one leaf before attacking the barrier again. Shi Hao attacked again with the lightning pool. The crack he created was still large enough for him to pass through, but it was smaller than before despite using greater magical force. After taking another jade container, he tried once more, only for the crack to become even smaller. He wondered whether the same precious technique would gradually become less effective. By the time he took the 5th container, the altar seemed to have developed resistance after becoming familiar with his divine ability, displaying targeted defensive power that made it increasingly difficult to break through. Shi Hao then noticed others changing their divine abilities, and their attacks once again became more effective. Realizing this, he remained calm. He still had other methods and could proceed at his own pace. Instead, he began observing the returns of the other creatures. Several people working together had achieved decent results. Some king clans that had previously been unable to obtain even a single immortal tea leaf had now managed to acquire a container. Shi Hao focused on one of these king clans and Kai Minghong's servant, who had earlier interfered with him. Symbols appeared across Shi Hao's body like armor as he charged violently toward a king clan. The creatures immediately panicked. They had acted under orders from the emperor clans and had no choice but to interfere. But they had always feared Huang's retaliation. Now it had finally arrived. They had just obtained a container holding an immortal leaf and naturally refused to hand it over. However, Shi Hao was far too fast. With his Kun Peng wings spread, he instantly crossed an enormous distance. When the wings descended, several experts of that clan were struck heavily, vomiting blood and flying away. All of them were late-stage self-release realm experts who had cultivated for thousands of years. Yet under Huang's terrifying divine wings, they were nearly blasted apart, blood splashing before the earthen altar. The jade container fell from their grasp. Although many people's eyes reddened, no one dared to reach out and steal from the tiger's mouth. Shi Hao calmly seized the container and put it away, saying that he hoped they would continue disturbing him, since he was more than willing to collect interest from such matters. He did not continue forcing them, because he wanted to rob them again if they managed to obtain more leaves. Someone angrily warned him not to cross the line. The mountaintop became extremely tense, with everyone guarding against the surrounding clans stealing their gains. In the past, battles had also occurred over the immortal tea leaves, but usually only after people could no longer obtain more leaves from the altar. Huang, however, seemed prepared to start such battles right from the beginning. Shi Hao glanced at everyone before suddenly rushing in another direction. Kai Minghong's pupils contracted when he realized Huang was targeting his servants. Shi Hao ignored him and spread his Kun Peng wings. Although the limited space of the mountaintop prevented the wings from displaying their full power, they still covered the area ahead and surrounded Kai Minghong's 3 old servants, who had also obtained an immortal leaf. Kai Minghong immediately attacked to stop Shi Hao. Everyone became extremely nervous, as the 2 great young experts were already about to clash at the very beginning. The giant Kun Peng wings descended ruthlessly, striking the 3 powerful old servants until blood poured from their mouths and many of their bones broke. The jade container also changed hands and was seized by Huang. When Kai Minghong's attack arrived, Shi Hao acted extremely brashly, raising his right leg and kicking directly toward Kai Minghong's face with tremendous force. Everyone was stunned. Huang was truly crazy and vicious, actually confronting Kai Minghong in such a manner. Huang's actions were simple, ruthless, ostentatious, and completely unrestrained, as if he were beating a subordinate rather than fighting a formidable opponent. He casually kicked toward Kai Minghong's face, but Kai Minghong avoided it by moving his neck and raised his shoulder. With a loud sound, his shoulder, powerful enough to lift mountains and shatter moons, collided with Shi Hao's leg and stopped the kick. Kai Minghong's eyes were extremely sharp. Instantly seizing this opportunity, while raising Huang's leg, he smashed out with his fist, causing 10,000 Dao symbols to explode with incomparable power. He used offense as defense and launched a vicious counterattack, making everyone wonder if Huang would be defeated by this single strike. Kai Minghong's shoulder lifted Shi Hao's right leg as his body advanced, and his fist smashed toward Shi Hao's chest, bringing terrifying winds and roiling Dao laws that caused the surrounding void to explode. However, Shi Hao reacted extremely quickly. His raised leg suddenly became incredibly heavy, as if weighing more than a star, and crashed down on Kai Minghong's body, making him nearly lose his balance and disrupting his strongest attack. At the same time, Shi Hao straightened his right leg and fiercely swung out his left leg, rising into the air while his right leg remained on Kai Minghong's shoulder. His left leg then struck down like a whip, smashing into Kai Minghong's other shoulder with tremendous force. Kai Minghong's body moved, his fists erupting like volcanoes as he attacked Shi Hao. At that moment, Shi Hao moved both legs like divine whips, fiercely intertwining them around Kai Minghong's neck. His legs were like flood dragon shears, winding around the neck and threatening to snap it, while blazing divine radiance erupted and countless chains of order descended upon Kai Minghong. Kai Minghong swung his neck and condensed a magical imprint. His fists were like true dragons emerging from the sea, blasting toward Shi Hao with overwhelming force. Shi Hao's legs spun around his neck, allowing him to avoid the attack and move toward Kai Minghong's back. However, Kai Minghong's battle awareness was terrifying. He rotated as well, his fists smashing upward and nearly striking Shi Hao directly, causing berserk symbols to surge like a sea and the skies to crack and collapse. Shi Hao twisted his legs one last time before rushing away and avoiding the attack, causing the two to separate. Many spectators had not even clearly seen what happened before the two passed each other and the initial clash ended. Shi Hao remained calm, Although he had not seriously injured Cai Minghong, he had successfully gauged his opponent's strength. Cai Minghong was indeed formidable and worthy of being an Emperor clan expert. Cai Minghong, meanwhile, was cold-faced and covered in fury. He had not been seriously injured, but Huang had repeatedly acted extremely brashly, first kicking at his face and then wrapping his legs around his neck as if riding him. As a member of an Emperor clan, he had never been treated this way, and even without suffering injuries, the humiliation made him furious. "Huang, you are courting death," Cai Minghong shouted, his pupils releasing scarlet light as he charged forward, intending to fight Shi Hao to the death. Shi Hao replied that Cai Minghong had misunderstood. He had only wanted to step on his face, while Cai Minghong was the one who thought he wanted to sit on his neck. Enraged, Cai Minghong immediately used one of his clan's restricted secret arts. A blood-colored ancient beast emerged from the top of his head. It was fist-sized, extremely vicious, and covered in blood-colored bone spikes. A sea of blood surged forth as it roared at Shi Hao. Everyone's scalps turned numb, and even distant powerful cultivators were shocked into immobility. They were completely unable to move or speak, trapped in absolute stasis by the sea of blood. Only the Emperor clans, Wu Kun, Yu Yu, and the others had prepared in advance and moved away. Avoiding the roar, Shi Hao's expression became serious. He felt as if he were standing within a vortex of time, with time itself completely frozen. The blood beast was clearly Cai Minghong's primordial spirit and original form, possessing an extremely ferocious appearance and grasping a type of time-natural law. However, Shi Hao sensed that these laws seemed to mainly imprison rather than truly seize control of time. Cai Minghong roared for Huang to hand over his life and attacked while Shi Hao was immobilized. Shi Hao felt a genuine threat of death, as he had never before been completely sealed in place like this. This was the power of an Emperor clan's renowned restricted secret art, said to be unstoppable and unequaled. Cai Minghong condensed a fist imprint and charged toward the space between Shi Hao's brows, intending to kill him with a single blow. At that moment, loud, muffled sounds began to echo from within Shi Hao's body, like the heartbeat of a prehistoric giant beast. Heavenly-eyed cultivators saw what seemed like furnaces inside his body, blazing with divine flames and releasing clear light. In reality, these were the gates within Shi Hao's inner world. They resonated and opened simultaneously, erupting with a vast sea of power. Shi Hao was forced to go all out, opening every gate within his body and releasing his greatest strength. By directly using overwhelming force to break through the Tao, he shattered the time domain and regained his freedom. However, Shi Hao deliberately remained motionless, since Cai Minghong was such a terrifying opponent who had nearly brought him to the brink of death. Shi Hao intended to return the favor. Cai Minghong saw that he still had not moved and charged forward with his fist imprint, while the scarlet ancient beast above his head continued releasing the time domain that restricted heaven and earth. Everyone was astonished by Cai Minghong's power. As the descendant of the Scarlet King, he possessed unmatched might, and the Emperor clans were believed to be undefeated beneath the heavens. Many people were excited, believing that they had finally witnessed someone capable of defeating Huang and perhaps even ending his life. However, just as Cai Minghong was about to kill Shi Hao suddenly retaliated. He avoided the fist imprint and, just as during their first clash, raised his right leg and kicked toward Cai Minghong's face. This time, Cai Minghong did not evade because he had never expected the supposedly immobilized Huang to suddenly move. With a tremendous sound, Shi Hao's kick smashed directly into Cai Minghong's face with heaven-shaking force. The spectators were stunned and could hardly believe it. Huang's divine strength was powerful enough to shatter a moon, and now that terrifying kick had struck Cai Minghong directly in the face. Shi Hao's attack was extremely violent and direct. He stepped on Cai Minghong's face with terrifying strength, causing the surrounding space to explode. Everyone was horrified because Cai Minghong was an Emperor clan member. Yet his face was crushed beneath Shi Hao's foot. His cheek, nose, eye socket, and bones were severely caved in, blood flying everywhere. An ordinary person would have exploded into bloody mist, while even a King clan member would likely have had their bones shattered and died on the spot. However, Cai Minghong possessed an exceptionally powerful body that had undergone repeated refinement. Although he suffered a severe injury, he survived. His primordial spirit, a fist-sized blood beast, was not inside his head at that moment, but was floating outside and displaying the time domain. When Shi Hao's kick arrived, it quickly retreated while protecting itself with time fragments. However, Cai Minghong's physical body still took the full impact. His skull split in several places, and blood flowed from between his brows, leaving his primordial spirit in extreme danger. Cai Minghong was furious and humiliated. He had never been injured so severely before and had almost been kicked apart. After restoring his body, he continued fighting. Because the battle was far from over, Shi Hao pressed forward relentlessly, striking with one fist after another. His extreme physical strength had already broken through the time domain, allowing him to regain his freedom and once again suppress Cai Minghong. He wanted to kill him on the spot. Everyone was shocked by Huang's overwhelming dominance. Previously, the time domain had restricted everyone and trapped them in a terrifying frozen state, making escape nearly impossible. Yet Shi Hao had struggled free. Now, his fists continuously smashed toward Cai Minghong, forcing him to cross his arms and defend. The impact made his arms numb and almost break. Because he had lost the initiative, he could only passively defend. Just as Shi Hao had previously been forced into a defensive position when trapped by the time domain. Shi Hao's precious techniques were extremely powerful, suppressing Cai Minghong's body until it nearly split apart. His ancestral technique had been subdued and could not be fully unleashed. After recovering his freedom, Shi Hao was able to display all of his methods once more, attacking continuously with terrifying power. At the same time, he became more vigilant, realizing how dangerous it had been to have his magical force and divine abilities completely restricted by the time domain, leaving him almost like a cripple. He understood that he should have been more cautious earlier. Cai Minghong roared furiously and refused to accept being suppressed. A furnace emerged from within his body, merging with his heart before rushing out and expanding. It was formed from blood energy and supported by heart blood, possessing immense power as if the universe itself were pressing down. This was the Scarlet King Furnace, an ancestral technique inherited from the vicious Scarlet King, who had once refined an immortal king into bloody paste inside a furnace. Cai Minghong now displayed this terrifying ancestral method, intending to send Shi Hao flying and refine him into bloody paste within the furnace. However, Shi Hao was too powerful to be suppressed. He struck the Scarlet King Furnace with a fist, sending it flying. He then grabbed Cai Minghong's shoulder and fiercely attacked him, suppressing him and smashing him from mid-air into the mountaintop. The mountain's ancient formation, left behind from the immortal ancient era, protected the peak from being destroyed by the battle's terrifying aftermath. Cai Minghong then activated the furnace again. Its lid opened, releasing scarlet light, while a pair of blood-covered arms in ruined battle armor reached out from inside, attempting to seize Shi Hao and drag him into the furnace. Many people were horrified, believing them to be the arms of an immortal king. The Scarlet King Furnace had once refined an immortal king and had mutated because of it, with these imprints passed down through later generations. Although Cai Minghong could not truly unleash an immortal king's power, this ancestral technique was still an extremely terrifying killing move. Shi Hao attacked the arms with all his strength, but they were incredibly sturdy and tried to strangle him and drag him into the furnace. Shi Hao's eyes flashed as he summoned a lightning pool in his palm and struck down, sending lightning like silver streams against the arms. At the same time, a Kun Peng appeared, its golden feathers transforming into countless heavenly swords that slashed down. The lightning and Kun Peng techniques combined, forcibly breaking the arms and sending the Scarlet King Furnace flying. Shi Hao then layered the two precious techniques together and attacked Cai Minghong, suppressing him and smashing him into the mountain. His terrifying Kun Peng fists tore through Cai Minghong's defenses, placing him in great danger. Cai Minghong quietly released his time domain again, hoping to launch a sudden fatal attack. But Shi Hao immediately saw through the move. He used Reincarnation Fist, which also contained the laws of time, allowing him to remain free and unleash his techniques. The two time-related secret methods collided, causing heaven and earth to break apart as time fragments flew in all directions and a long river of time appeared. The spectators were shaken and began wondering whether an Emperor clan member would truly be defeated. The younger generation of the Emperor clans had always been considered unstoppable, even legendary figures known to be undefeated. Yet now, Cai Minghong was being suppressed by Huang and might even be killed. The Foreign Side's kings had previously only been defeated, but now even Emperor clan members were fighting Huang with victory and defeat uncertain. leaving many anxious and frightened as they prayed for Cai Minghong to win. Because the Qing clans had already won many times in the past and were naturally arrogant and wild. They had always looked down on the 9 heavens 10 earths. However, after moving out, they could no longer injure Huang, while countless members were instead killed by him. Thus, they desperately wanted a victory and wished to defeat Huang head-on. But repeatedly failed, making this an unresolved problem that constantly gnawed at them. Many people were extremely nervous, fearing Cai Minghong's defeat. As a top younger generation figure of an emperor clan, if even he lost, it would mean that no one could defeat Huang, confirming his position as unstoppable among the younger generation. The battle between the two was therefore a struggle over who was truly supreme. Shi Hao's fist collided with Cai Minghong's magical imprint, causing brilliant light and surging time power. A faint river of time appeared, while space became unstable and was corroded by the power of time. The two figures became indistinct, as if they had disappeared from the present and entered ancient history. Everyone held their breath and retreated to give them a sufficiently large battlefield. Cai Minghong was shocked that Shi Hao also understood time natural laws. Their methods originated from different directions. Cai Minghong used time to restrain and seal his opponent, while Shi Hao sought to sever time and take away his lifespan. Time stasis. Cai Minghong roared furiously. Since Shi Hao was fighting him in his strongest domain, he regarded it as both provocation and contempt. His ancestral technique was an unmatched secret method that could stop time and make all things still. Reincarnation. Shi Hao shouted. His fist became even more brilliant, shining with imperishable radiance across endless generations as it clashed with the supreme technique. Although time stopped and everything seemed frozen, Shi Hao continued to brandish his fist, attempting to break through the situation with reincarnation. However, Cai Minghong's divine ability was terrifying, and even Shi Hao's reincarnation fist left his body somewhat rigid and restricted. Cai Minghong then strengthened his ancestral technique and shouted, "Seal!" The world became dark and returned to its origin, filled with primal chaos. Using primal chaos as pillars and time as chains, he formed a time prison that locked Shi Hao inside. The prison was only about 10 square zhong in size, but it absorbed time fragments from all directions and concentrated them into a terrifying cage. Cai Minghong roared and tried to suppress Shi Hao. Many nearby creatures became excited, believing that Huang was finally about to lose and that the Emperor clan would capture him. The time prison was incredibly sturdy, with condensed time power crushing inward like an underworld prison, and it seemed that Shi Hao had no chance of survival. However, Cai Minghong frowned because the prison did not immediately kill Shi Hao. Shi Hao was still inside, continuously brandishing his fists and resisting. Although the cage kept contracting, it could not crush him. He was like an unyielding war deity who had walked out of ancient times, difficult for heaven and earth to destroy. The reincarnation divine ability seized the time fragments within the prison and extracted them, gradually breaking the cage apart. Cai Minghong continued to control the prison with all his strength, but Shi Hao remained able to move. Shi Hao could have used his magical immunity super ability, which Cai Minghong might have found difficult to defend against, and then suddenly killed him. However, he chose not to reveal that trump card, since an ancient emperor clan was known to possess similar power, and the other emperor clans might also have methods to counter it. He also wanted to preserve his trump cards and test other secret techniques against Cai Minghong's strongest abilities. At least for now, he could withstand the opponent's techniques. Shi Hao poured lightning power into his fists, guiding lightning Dao power into the prison. He continuously attacked like a reincarnated war god. Finally, the time prison cracked and collapsed. His reincarnation fist absorbed time fragments, while lightning Dao laws pierced through Cai Minghong's time domain. Cai Minghong immediately coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and suffered a backlash. His temple hair turned gray as the reincarnation force seized part of his time. The Qing clans were shocked and panicked, unable to believe that even an emperor clan member was about to be defeated. Shi Hao then attacked like an unchained vicious beast, with endless lightning and time fragments crashing forward. Cai Minghong was struck heavily, vomited blood, and was sent flying. The backlash was severe, with much of his hair turning white. Lightning pierced his body while reincarnation corroded his soul, creating a life-threatening situation. The crowd, including Wu Kun, Yu Yu, and the others, was stunned, while Mo Xian also had not expected this result. Kai Minghong was especially skilled in time laws. Yet he had ultimately been injured within his own domain, with his life force seized by time. After a beast roar tore through the silence, Kai Minghong stabilized himself. Surprisingly, his white hair turned black again and recovered. He coldly declared that Huang had humiliated him and that he had endured for too long. It was now time to end the battle. A fist-sized scarlet blood beast appeared above Kai Minghong's head. It was his primordial spirit and true original form, extremely vicious and sinister. It had a flood dragon's head and a lion's body covered not in skin or armor, but in scarlet bone spurs. Although small, it was extraordinarily dangerous. Kai Minghong was a time beast, an extremely powerful and nearly undefeated species with no particularly effective method of dealing with it. His scarlet primordial spirit now appeared and gathered terrifying power. The time beast primordial spirit roared as candles appeared around it one after another. They were lit and became blood-colored, with smoke spiraling upward. Many were shocked that Kai Minghong had fully cultivated this ancestral method, including Emperor clan members such as Cheng Kun and Yu Yu. Although this was still time power, its meaning was completely different. One had to reach a certain cultivation realm and evolve the original time ancestral method before displaying this world-shaking vicious technique. It required personal comprehension rather than merely inheriting a secret technique. The flickering candles burned time itself, summoning power capable of extinguishing all living beings. This was a sublimation of the time Tao laws, normally extremely difficult to experience before reaching the Supreme Being realm. Yet Kai Minghong could already summon these time candles and burn time itself at his age. Shi Hao frowned, sensing an unusual and life-threatening pressure. He considered whether it was time to use his trump cards. Suddenly, several strange blood-colored wisps appeared and flowed toward his limbs and bones, filling his body with mysterious power. His third Supreme Being technique had revived at this moment and begun displaying its unmatched power. Shi Hao felt that this precious technique was about to mature after being nurtured within him for so long, with its bone patterns becoming increasingly clear and seemingly ready to emerge. An irresistible impulse surged within him, causing Shi Hao to roar and immediately attack. His fist smashed forward with astonishing radiance, like lightning tearing through a dark cosmos and illuminating the boundless ancient world. Under the might of this punch, everything seemed to be crushed. The fist pierced through Kai Minghong's chest, creating a bloody hole that connected from front to back. Kai Minghong was sent flying, with blood dyeing the sky. Huang's sudden fist dominated the heavens and earth, piercing straight through Kai Minghong's chest and sending blood and shattered bones flying. Kai Minghong raised his head in shock, unable to believe what had happened, while everyone else was equally stunned. He had just accumulated power and entered his strongest battle state, preparing to display the unparalleled glory of his ancestor Scarlet Cane. Yet Huang suddenly attacked and interrupted his charging state, knocking him flying before he could unleash his ultimate technique. It was like being kicked from heaven into an endless abyss. Everyone was shocked that Kai Minghong, an Emperor clan expert, had been defeated in such an unexpected single blow. The Qing clans had hoped to see Huang suffer a fair and open defeat, but even the dream of defeating an Emperor clan fell at Huang's hands. Kai Minghong was extremely unwilling to accept this. He had been confident that once he displayed his evolved ancestral method, he could kill any enemy, and victory had seemed within reach. Yet he had instead been seriously injured by Huang's fist. Shi Hao, meanwhile, felt the power of his third Supreme Being precious technique surge through him. His blood boiled, strange blood wisps extended outward, and his strength and speed multiplied many times, making him seem like a completely different person. This was why his fist had broken through Kai Minghong's defensive secret techniques and body protecting screen, seriously injuring him. Although the bone texts were still incomplete, Shi Hao could already sense their terrifying potential. The Supreme Being blood in his body had sensed an external threat and, stimulated by powerful pressure, awakened prematurely. Shi Hao was uncertain whether this was good or bad, as he did not want anything to go wrong during the nurturing of his third precious technique. His blood now surged toward his breastbone, with bone texts interweaving and many imprints rushing out, seemingly attempting to form a completely different Supreme Being bone, unlike his previous Supreme Being bones, which had been removed and obtained by Shi Yi or given to his younger brother. This third one was meant to be nurtured within his blood. However, it had now activated ahead of time, leaving Shi Hao uncertain whether to interfere or let it develop naturally. Kai Minghong then crawled back up. His chest caved in and pierced through, and challenged Huang to fight him at his peak. He ignited his life potential and prepared to burn the candles again, using the power of time as a primer. The candle flames seemed to represent time and the order of the heavens, while the rising candle fragrance appeared to communicate with mysterious existences of the underworld. Before Kai Minghong could fully unleash this power, he suddenly roared and attacked first. Fearing that Shi Hao would seize the initiative again, the candles burned, releasing terrifying magical force that seemed capable of annihilating all creatures and rippling throughout the ancient realm. Shi Hao, however, did not wait. With his blood boiling and bone texts flourishing uncontrollably, he once again unleashed his third supreme being technique. This attack was even more terrifying. Kai Minghong's body was struck until half of it exploded, and only his time beast primordial spirit escaped at the critical moment. A bloody hole even appeared between his brows from Shi Hao's vicious finger strike. The candles were crushed by the force of Shi Hao's fist, their flames extinguished and smoke scattering into the air, carrying several drops of essence blood. The time beast primordial spirit fled into the heavens while roaring in fury and humiliation. Shi Hao reached out to seize it, but the elders protecting the Tao Comprehension Tea Tree and others intervened, unwilling to let an Emperor Clan young expert die without doing anything. Shi Hao therefore stopped, laughing loudly. An Emperor Clan had fled for his life while the kings had to intervene, which he considered an excellent conclusion. His laughter sounded like an ear-piercing provocation to everyone else. The opposing side had been defeated once again, and Kai Minghong had nearly been killed even after displaying the power of an Emperor Clan. Yu Yu, Wu Kun, and the others wanted to fight, but they did not wish to act immediately after Kai Minghong's defeat, and they still wanted to obtain Tao Comprehension tea leaves. Shi Hao continued laughing openly, looking down on the opposing kings and making their expressions extremely ugly. On the ground, Kai Minghong's body transformed back into the time beast's original form, a scarlet beast about a zhang long with a cold metallic luster and bone spurs covering its body. Shi Hao walked over and used his finger like a blade to cut off one complete beast leg from the half of the body that remained intact. When a King Clan expert angrily questioned him, Shi Hao coldly replied that he was merely collecting his spoils of war and warned him to leave if he did not want to die. The expert immediately became terrified and did not dare say anything more. When several others told Huang not to go too far, Shi Hao ignored them, sat down, cleaned the beast leg, lit a Tao flame, and began roasting it. Everyone was stunned, having initially thought he was merely humiliating Kai Minghong by damaging his body. They never expected that he actually intended to eat it. Kai Minghong's servants were terrified and shouted that Huang was provoking public anger and that it was savage and cruel to eat an Emperor Clan. Shi Hao coldly rebuked them, explaining that foreign creatures ate members of the human race based on the law of the strong devouring the weak. So as a human, he would retaliate with strength, killing those who ate humans, treating them as prey, and reclaiming the glory of the human race through eating them. That was precisely what he was doing by roasting the beast leg. He then noticed that Wu had obtained another Tao Comprehension tea leaf and ordered him to hand it over. When Wu accused him of robbing them, Shi Hao simply replied that he was indeed robbing them.